The 1955-1957 Chevrolet Bel Air, the crown jewel of the American dream. A soft glow settles over a classic American diner parking lot. Neon lights flicker in shades of pink and turquoise, casting their electric glow across rain-slicked pavement. Inside, a Wurlitzer jukebox cycles through the hits. Elvis, Chuck Berry, Buddy Holly, and the music drifts through the open door into the warm summer night. Then, with a gentle rumble that seems to harmonize with the distant music, a gleaming Chevrolet Bel Air pulls into view, rolling slowly past the diner's glass windows. It's more than a car arriving. It's a rolling symbol of simpler times, of an America that believed wholeheartedly in tomorrow. Chrome sparkles across sweeping fenders, catching every light source and multiplying it into 1,000 tiny reflections. Two-tone paint glows like hard candy under the streetlights, perhaps Sierra gold over India ivory or onyx black paired with colonial cream. Whether it's the clean revolutionary lines of the 55, the refined and elegant style of the 56, or the unforgettable soaring fins of the 57, each Bel Air carries the unmistakable look of the golden 1950s. Older generations pause mid-conversation, their eyes lighting up with heartwarming nostalgia that goes deeper than mere appreciation for vintage machinery. This wasn't just a car, it was Friday nights cruising Main Street, sock hops in the high school gymnasium, drive-in movies where the film on screen couldn't compete with the romance in the front seat, milkshakes shared at the counter, and the pure, unfiltered joy of a world that seemed filled with endless color and boundless optimism. The dawn of a new era. To understand the significance of the 1955 Chevrolet Bel Air, you have to step back into the world that preceded it. The early 1950s found Chevrolet, and indeed most American automakers, still clinging to design philosophies rooted in the 1940s. Cars wore rounded, bulbous bodies that seemed to roll rather than glide. They were practical, certainly, and reliable in the way that Chevrolet had always promised, but they lacked excitement. They lacked the visual drama that the post-war American spirit was beginning to crave. The nation had emerged from World War II victorious and ready to celebrate. Young families were moving into suburban developments with names that promised paradise: Levittown, Park Forest, Lakewood. The economy was booming. Television sets were appearing in living rooms. Highway construction was beginning to stitch the country together in ways previous generations could never have imagined. Americans wanted cars that matched this new optimism, this sense of limitless possibility. And then, in October 1954, Chevrolet pulled back the curtain on the 1955 model year, and everything changed. Reeditor, 1955, the revolution in chrome and steel. The Tri-Five Bel Airs redefined American automotive design, and the 1955 model kicked off this revolution with stunning force. Gone were the rounded contours of yesteryear, replaced by crisp, clean lines that seemed to slice through the air with purpose. The front end featured a simple, elegant grille with a subtle Ferrari-inspired egg crate pattern, a nod to European sophistication wrapped in thoroughly American confidence. Hooded headlights gave the car an alert, eager expression, while the front bumper swept across the width of the car in one uninterrupted chrome smile. But the real story of the 55 Bel Air was what lived under that gorgeous hood. Chevrolet's brand new small-block V8 engine. Displacing 265 cubic inches and initially producing 162 horsepower in base form, with up to 180 HP available with the Power Pack option, this compact, efficient V8 would go on to become one of the most important engine designs in automotive history. It gave the Bel Air genuine performance to match its stunning looks. Suddenly, Chevrolet wasn't just competing with Ford on style, but on the stoplight and the straightaway too. The profile of the 55 was pure elegance. A gentle character line swept from the front fender back through the doors, visually lowering the car and giving it a sense of forward motion even when standing still. The roofline, especially on the two-door hardtop model, was graceful and airy, with slender pillars and expansive glass that made the interior feel open and welcoming. In the rear, modest fins hinted at jet-age styling without overwhelming the design, and the taillights sat in chrome bezels that caught light like jewels. Color choices reflected the optimism of the era: harvest gold, skyline blue, gypsy red, and the introduction of two-tone paint schemes allowed buyers to express their personality in ways previously unimaginable. A Bel Air wasn't just transportation, it was a fashion statement, a declaration of taste and success. 1956, refinement and sophistication. While the 1955 model broke new ground, the 1956 Bel Air brought refinement and sophistication to the formula. Chevrolet's designers understood they had something special and chose evolution over revolution. The 56 featured a more prominent grille with a full-width design that incorporated the parking lights into the bumper assembly. The front bumper itself became more massive, more substantial, reflecting America's growing fascination with chrome and bright work. The side trim became more elaborate in 1956, with the Bel Air's signature spear extending further back along the body and incorporating a unique sculptural element that added visual interest without cluttering the design. The two-tone paint combinations could now be applied in more complex patterns, with the color break following the character line in ways that accentuated the car's length and low stance. Under the hood, the small block V8 grew to 265 cubic inches across all variants, with power outputs climbing. The top-spec dual 4-barrel version produced an impressive 225 horsepower, enough to make the Bel Air a genuine performance machine. Chevrolet was learning that American buyers wanted both beauty and brawn, style and substance. The interior of the 56 saw improvements too. The dashboard became more integrated, with better organized controls and gauges. Upholstery options expanded to include more luxurious fabrics and patterns. Air conditioning became a more common option, acknowledging that American families wanted comfort to go along with their cruising. The Bel Air was positioning itself not just as a beautiful car, but as a genuinely premium offering that could compete with anything in its class. The rear styling of the 56 featured slightly more pronounced fins than the 55, with taillights that seemed to grow organically from the body rather than being simply applied to it. The overall effect was of a car that looked expensive, sophisticated, and thoroughly modern, exactly what upwardly mobile American families wanted parked in their driveways. 1957, achieving immortality. And then came 1957, the year the Chevrolet Bel Air reached legend status and achieved a kind of automotive immortality that few vehicles ever attain. The 57 Bel Air is, for many enthusiasts and collectors, the pinnacle not just of the Tri-Five series but of 1950s automotive design as a whole. Every element came together in perfect harmony: the stance, the proportions, the details, the presence. This was the car that would appear on bedroom posters decades later, that would star in movies and television shows, that would command six-figure prices at auction, and that would cause grown men to tear up when they encountered one at a car show. The front end of the 57 was unmistakable. A massive bumper dominated the face, incorporating the grille and giving the car an aggressive, confident expression. The headlights sat in chrome pods that seemed to hover within the fender contours. The hood extended long and level, promising power underneath, and the 57 delivered on that promise. The small block V8 was available in multiple configurations, topping out with the legendary fuel-injected version that produced 283 horsepower from 283 cubic inches, 1 horsepower per cubic inch, a magical ratio that represented the cutting edge of American engineering. But it was the rear of the 57 that truly captured the imagination. The tail fins soared upward in dramatic sweeps that evoked jet fighters and rocket ships, perfectly capturing the space-age optimism of the era. The taillights were integrated into the fins themselves, glowing red like afterburners when the brakes were applied. In the center, a chrome panel with the Chevrolet script sat above the license plate housing, surrounded by sculpted bodywork that looked like it belonged on a concept car rather than something you could actually drive home from the dealership. Gold trim, the gold anodized appointments that Chevrolet advertised extensively, accentuated key elements throughout the car. It appeared in the grille, around the bodyside molding, and in various interior applications, giving the Bel Air an upscale, almost jewelry-like quality. This wasn't chrome for chrome's sake. It was carefully considered detailing that elevated the entire design. The profile of the 57 featured more sculptural bodywork than its predecessors, with a pronounced character line that swept from the front fender all the way back to the tail, creating drama and movement. The roof on the Sport Coupe, the pillarless two-door hardtop, was a masterpiece of proportion, managing to look both substantial and airy at the same time. Greenhouse glass was expansive, giving occupants excellent visibility and a sense of being connected to the world outside. Color combinations for 1957 were perhaps the most exciting yet. You could order your Bel Air in combinations like tropical turquoise with India ivory, matador red with colonial cream, or highland green with laurel green. Each combination was carefully designed to complement the car's lines and emphasize its most attractive features. Walking through a Chevrolet dealership in 1957 must have felt like stepping into a candy store, with each Bel Air more tempting than the last. The cockpit, where dreams were steered. To truly understand the Bel Air experience, you have to slip behind the wheel and pull that heavy chrome door closed with that satisfying bank vault thunk that only 1950s American cars could produce. Settle into the bench seat, wide enough for 3 across, upholstered in pleated vinyl or optional cloth in colors that match the exterior paint, and survey your domain. The dashboard stretches before you like the control panel of a spacecraft, all bright chrome bezels and pastel colors. In the 55, the instrument cluster was a simple, honest affair with a large speedometer directly in front of the driver and auxiliary gauges grouped logically. By 56, the dash became more elaborate with better integration of the radio and heater controls. And in 57, the dashboard reached its zenith with a full-width design that put the speedometer front and center, surrounded by a chrome cowl that caught light and drew the eye. The steering wheel is substantial, big enough to guide dreams, as they say, with a chrome horn ring that you could tap with your thumb to let other cruisers know you appreciated their ride. Optional features like the Wonderbar radio, which automatically sought out the strongest station when you pushed a button, and the clock integrated into the dashboard's central pod made the Bel Air feel genuinely luxurious. Colors inside were unapologetically cheerful. You might find yourself surrounded by turquoise and white, or perhaps coral and cream, or maybe charcoal and silver. The 1950s didn't believe in monochrome minimalism. Interiors were celebrations of color and texture, places where you genuinely wanted to spend time. Chrome trim surrounded the instruments, outlined the doors, accented the seatbacks. It was unabashedly optimistic design, refusing to take itself too seriously while still maintaining a sense of quality and pride. Turn the key, and the small block V8 rumbles to life with that unmistakable mid-century charm. Not the raw, aggressive snarl of a muscle car, but something more civilized, more refined. It's a sound that promises reliability and adventure in equal measure. Pull the column-mounted shifter down into drive, automatic transmission, or ease out the clutch with the floor-mounted manual, and the Bel Air moves forward with a sense of occasion. The ride is soft, soaking up bumps with coil springs and making passengers feel like they're floating rather than driving. Power steering, available as an option, makes the big Chevy easy to maneuver despite its size. This wasn't a cockpit built for lap times or track records. It was designed for feeling. The feeling of possibility that came with having the whole weekend ahead of you, of open roads stretching to every horizon, of your sweetheart beside you and the radio playing your song, of the whole night spreading out like the highway beyond the headlights, full of promise and adventure. More than metal, a cultural phenomenon. The Bel Air Tri-Fives captured the spirit of America's post-war optimism in ways that transcended mere transportation. They appeared in countless family photographs, their chrome gleaming in suburban driveways, representing milestones both grand and everyday. The new Bel Air parked outside the ranch house was proof that Dad's hard work was paying off, that the American dream was real and attainable. They weren't just fashion or status symbols, they were freedom itself. For teenagers, a Bel Air, even a used one by the early 60s, represented independence, the ability to escape parental supervision and cruise with friends, to park at the overlook and dream about the future. For young couples, the Bel Air was both practical transportation and romantic setting, a private space where courtship could unfold away from the watchful eyes of family. The cars appeared everywhere in popular culture. They starred in movies and television shows, often playing themselves, simply representing car in the most iconic way possible. When Hollywood needed to depict the 1950s, they rolled out the Bel Airs. When advertisers wanted to evoke nostalgia, there was the Bel Air again, its fins and chrome instantly transporting viewers back to simpler times. Families saved for them, counting pennies and planning budgets around that magical day when they could walk into a Chevrolet dealership and order their dream combination of colors, options, and trim. The anticipation of waiting for delivery, then the joy of taking possession of a brand new Bel Air, represented achievement and arrival in ways that are hard to fully capture in our current era of leasing and casual car buying. Teenagers dreamed about them, drawing Bel Airs in notebook margins during boring classes, imagining the day they'd have one of their own. They appeared in countless graduations and weddings, decorated with streamers and just married signs, serving as the chariot that carried young couples into their new lives together. They were trusted for cross-country adventures in an era when interstate highways were still being built, and a trip across America was a genuine expedition. The Bel Air became America's living room on wheels, a place where memories were made, where life's important conversations happened, where the American dream felt tangible enough to touch through polished chrome and smooth steering wheel leather. Births were announced from Bel Airs, deals were struck, proposals were made, arguments were resolved. The bench seat became a social space, with 3 friends across the front and 3 across the back, everyone together, everyone connected. The technical achievement beyond the styling and cultural impact, the Tri-Five Bel Airs represented genuine engineering advancement. The small block V8 that debuted in 1955 wasn't just more powerful than Chevrolet's previous inline-6. It was lighter, more compact, and more efficient. Its overhead valve design and efficient combustion chambers made it a technological marvel that could deliver both performance and reasonable fuel economy, by 1950 standards anyway. The chassis underneath was fully modern for its time, with a sturdy frame, independent front suspension, and coil springs at all 4 corners that delivered a comfortable ride without sacrificing handling entirely. Power brakes and power steering, increasingly common options as the Tri-Five era progressed, made these substantial cars easy to drive in traffic and on long highway journeys. The optional fuel injection system introduced for 1957 was cutting-edge technology, one of the first production applications of continuous flow fuel injection in an American automobile. It made the Bel Air one of the most technically sophisticated vehicles available at any price point, not just in its segment. Safety features, while primitive by modern standards, were advancing. Seatbelts became available as options. The dashboard padding and recessed controls were designed to be less hazardous in accidents. Chevrolet was beginning to think about occupant protection in ways that would become standard practice in later decades. The end of an era and the beginning of a legend. The 1958 model year brought dramatic changes to the Chevrolet lineup. The Bel Air grew larger, gained more chrome, adopted quad headlights, and moved in a direction that many enthusiasts felt lost some of the purity and elegance that made the Tri-Fives special. While the later Bel Airs had their own appeal, they never quite captured the magic of 1955-1957. But even as production ended and new models took their place in showrooms, the Tri-Five Bel Airs began their journey toward icon status. Used car lots in the early 1960s were filled with them, and young hot rodders quickly discovered what Chevrolet's engineers had known. The small block V8 had tremendous potential for modification. Tri-Fives became the foundation for countless custom and performance builds, creating a whole subculture of Bel Air enthusiasm. As the decades passed and the 50s receded into memory, the Bel Air's value, both monetary and cultural, only increased. What had been everyday transportation became collectible, then precious. Restoration businesses built their entire operations around servicing these cars. Reproduction parts became a major industry. Car shows dedicated entire categories to Tri-Fives. Verting, the crown jewel endures. Today, the 1955-1957 Chevrolet Bel Air stands as one of the most beloved icons in automotive history, a perfect blend of style, spirit, and mid-century magic that continues to define the golden age of American cruising. When one appears at a car show or rolls down Main Street during a summer cruise night, time seems to pause. Conversations stop mid-sentence, people smile involuntarily, cameras and phones come out, everyone wanting to capture just a bit of that magic. Stories begin to flow about grandparents' cars, first loves, first dates, and the way things used to be, or at least the way we remember them being. The prices these cars command reflect their status. A well-restored 1957 Bel Air convertible can easily reach six figures at auction. Even project cars in rough condition, requiring years of work and tens of thousands of dollars in parts and labor, sell quickly to enthusiasts who understand that owning and restoring a Tri-Five is about more than just having a cool old car. It's about preserving a piece of American cultural history. Car clubs dedicated specifically to Tri-Five Chevrolets exist around the world, from California to Florida, from Texas to Minnesota, and even in countries far from America's shores. Members gather to share technical knowledge, parts sources, restoration tips, and stories. They organize cruises and shows, keeping these magnificent machines on the road and in the public eye, ensuring that new generations can experience the Bel Air's magic firsthand. The Bel Air's legacy isn't locked away in museums or consigned to history books gathering dust on shelves. It lives on in the hearts of those who remember when chrome was king and more was more, when two-tone paint jobs were considered high art, and when a car could genuinely represent everything good about being alive in America. It lives on in the rumble of restored small-block V8s firing up on Saturday mornings, headed out for cruise-ins and shows. It lives on in the photographs that still hang in countless homes, showing proud families standing beside their gleaming Bel Airs in driveways across America. That's the true magic of the Tri-Five Bel Air. It doesn't just take you back to the 1950s, to a specific moment in automotive design history. It takes you back to something deeper and more fundamental. It takes you back to hope itself, to a time when America believed unquestioningly that tomorrow would be better than today, that prosperity was limitless, that the future was bright beyond imagination. Every chrome detail, every sweep of the fender line, every cheerful color combination speaks to that optimism. The 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air remains the crown jewel of the American dream, rolling proof that sometimes, just sometimes, human beings create something so perfectly right, so beautifully suited to its moment, that it transcends its original purpose and becomes timeless.